Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with JIDE. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, federal government expands Emefiele's probe as deputy arrested. And later on the show, Soludo opens up, says Tinubu inherited debt horse economy as Olanipekun calls for probe of Obasanjo, Jonathan, Buhari's governments. In the course of the program, we take your questions, but first subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments whose names are clear and are about the issues discussed. I have joining me via Zoom the master himself from Abuja, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you again, Bikil.
Good. Good to do this with you again. And I say a very good evening to our viewers from Nigeria and beyond. And we apologize for starting this late. It was beyond our capacity.
Absolutely. Right, so let's get down to the business. The DSS arrested the Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Kingsley Obiora, who was in charge of economic policy following allegations of financial mismanagement under the suspended CBN governor. Why do you feel the federal government is so determined to pursue this corruption case against Emefiele?
Yes, because they suspect that there is a lot of money that Nigeria lost under the rudderless leadership of the worst CBN governor in Nigerian history. First and foremost, from June 2015 until the CBN governor was suspended, no effort was made to audit the finances of the CBN and make it known to Nigerians. This is against the CBN Act 2007. The audited financial statement of the CBN has not been published since 2015 in contravention of the CBN Act 2007. So you ask, what really happened? Emefiele inherited a CBN with enormous powers, but he misused the powers available to him. He turned the CBN to the piggy bank of the last administration, always available to borrow, to give loan in inverted commas to the last administration to the tune of 22.8 trillion. Again, this is against the CBN Act. The CBN Act, the CBN governor should have independence, to enjoy independence to the point that he can't simply be doing everything that the executive wants. The last administration had issues with money that it has to spend and all that. It couldn't match the revenue coming to the government, could not match the appetite of the last administration for spending money. And what Emefiele simply did was to continue to print money for the government, and what the loans given to the last administration amounted to 22.8 trillion, which is double the debt that Nigeria inherited when President Buhari took over in 2015. So why would a CBN governor go that far? There were so many things that the CBN the governor, the suspended CBN governor did, that naturally pushed the current administration to begin to investigate so that they can recover some of our funds that were illegally taken away. For example, I can talk about some secret loans in inverted commas, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and the rest of them. Nigerians had never been in a situation in which our foreign reserve would be used to collateralize loans. Those secret loans amount to about $15 billion. And when I call them secret loans, it's because the National Assembly was not privy to those loans. Those loans were not appropriated for. But under Emefiele's leadership, we got such exposure to Goldman Sachs, to JP Morgan, and the rest of them. And by the time the economy got so bad that we now began to spend about 96% of our earnings, of our revenue, to service debts. It made it difficult for us to be able to access international funds because our ratings went down. When your ratings go down, it becomes difficult to access loans, international loans, financial and global financial institutions. So when you also look at what happened, I think if you read the newspapers, including Vanguard, you see that the attention of investigators has moved to the Anchor Borrowers Program. This Anchor Borrowers Program was created to help us galvanize farmers to produce more, and especially those critical crops like maize, rice, and the rest of them. But what did we see? 1.1 trillion naira was disbursed by the CBN to farmers, but only a little over 500 billion was paid back, thereby making it difficult for other farmers to be able to access the loans. The Anchor Borrower Program became more like a sleaze, whereby people came up with fake cooperatives and used the Anchor borrowers to secure funds that they were not prepared to pay back. Now, the newspapers have reported that one of the subsidiaries of the CBN actually refused to disburse more than 200 billion out of this money. So, if for any reason you fail to disburse money to the farmers, then the whole issue of accountability naturally comes up. People will ask, what is going on? Why should we have a situation in which out of 1.1 trillion disbursed, only 546 billion has been paid back? So 577 billion remains unaccounted for. So the CBN, a subsidiary of the CBN, was said to have diverted 255 million, not 255 billion, 255 billion that they ought to have given the banks. That is apart from bribes that were taken from banks, from farmers, and ultimately the farmers didn't get loans. So there's a lot that they are investigating uh, Emefiele over. And remember, one of the top people at CBN by the name Abbas Masanawa was also arrested recently in line with the investigation of Emefiele that is still on. When you are investigating an individual, you get all kinds of leads. There's a lot of sleaze that went on, especially in the foreign exchange market. And investigators are determined to get to the root of all of these things. If Emefiele is found blameless, of course, he's going to be released. But at this time, Emefiele is also pursuing the possibility of a plea bargain. This came up last week, and I confirmed that, yes, there is a desire to try and achieve plea bargain. What I think this government is largely interested in is wherever stolen monies can be found, it will be happy to go get the money so that we can use the money for something productive. So if Emefiele's desire to pursue plea bargain in respect of the 6.9 billion, the trial is trial over 6.9 billion sleaze, they will be happy to do that as long as an overwhelming proportion of that money comes back to our national coffers. Already, the vehicles that were used, that were purchased with that money have been seized. Some of the people in CBN that were CBN staff that Emefiele allowed them to do contracts to make supplies respect of the bank have been arrested, and the probe is very much on. So ultimately, from what I see, so many things happened under this man, and his investigation would take quite some time. I mean, how could anybody,
right,
a CBN governor, decide to take money from our foreign reserves to collateralize foreign loans? It's unheard of. And that's why our foreign reserves is depleted.
Yeah.
We were told that we had more than $33 billion dollars in our foreign reserve, but everyone has seen now that it is a lie.
That's right.
No accountability of any sort. Why would you not have the finances of the CBN audited and a financial statement published since 2015 if you didn't have something to hide? Some of what they try to hide is what we now know, that our foreign reserve is not as hefty as we've been led to believe all these years. In fact, I think it was JP Morgan that told us that we actually have about just about $3.3 billion left. Yet we were told that we had more than 30 billion. It will take a long while before all of the facts relating to Emefiele's horrible tenure as CPN governor are on health.
That's right.
So Nigerians just have to be patient and see where all of these investigations lead us.
Right, Mikhail. Let me quickly take one or two comments before we move to the next topic. Bamikole Obiwali says, what's happening to anchor borrower funds? Let them publish the names of borrowers that are not paying. Fabian Akaize says, while Emefiele is guilty of the crimes he committed, PNB was the person who approved those ways and means. Why should he be resting in Daura, receiving pension, and Emefiele is the one receiving the heat? Nelson Adufe says many heads will still roll over this Emefiele matter because he will open the can of worms and expose those who benefited in the spoils of crime, who even influence or aid him to such a well, I didn't get that. Bukola Yobami says people think DSS is on Emefiele's case because of Naira redesign alone. He committed a lot of atrocities and used his position to enrich a lot of people. He doesn't have good intentions for Nigeria. And TJ Associates said, why has federal government not suspended all top leaders in the CBN to get the accurate results? But we need to move on because of time. Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo said he empathizes and commiserates with President Tinubu's economic team, as the administration has inherited an economy that could be compared to a dead horse, but standing. Talk us through what Governor Soludo means in this regard, BKO.
Oh, it's very clear. And what we are just discussing now is related to the previous topic. A country spending 96% of its earnings to service debt. How do you describe such a country? A country that has a 1.7 million barrels a day production quota from OPEC, but struggling to produce 1 million, just 1 million barrels a day, with a shorting of not less than 700,000 barrels a day. How do you describe such a country? Of all the countries who are part of the OPEC oil cartel, there is no one that is going through the nonsense that Nigeria is going through at this time. Angola has overtaken us as Africa's #1 oil producer. War-torn Libya has also overtaken us as Africa's as second biggest oil producer. Yet we are not at war. But a lot of oil theft is going on in our country. Some IOCs, international oil companies, have even left our country because the situation is not palatable for them to continue to do business here. That is why in a season when other countries are making money as a result of Russia's senseless war in Ukraine, Nigeria, despite being an oil major, is unable to make money. It's such a terrible thing. And we continue to spend trillions of naira on subsidy, making us broke as a country. It got so bad that we borrowed so much money to the point that recently even China told us that, look, we won't like to borrow you any money at this time. So we had reached that point that we could not pay our bills. We could not pay salaries. We had to resort to ways and means, despite the World Bank warning that the CBN should not be compelled to be simply printing money and loaning money to the federal government by way of ways and means. We could not pay our bills. That is how you know a country that is solvent. We had become insolvent as a nation. So once you see an economy that is going through such a phase, you know that it is an economy that is struggling, because There's huge infrastructure deficit, but we can't find the money. Why did we find it so much to raise money? Even from oil sales, the bulk of the money that we make from oil sales goes to servicing debt, goes to paying for subsidy. So Soludo praised President Tinubu for his courage in floating the naira as well as removing subsidy, because by not subsidizing the foreign exchange market the way we were doing before, they've been able to save some money. They've been able to save billions of dollars. I don't know exactly how much they've saved. But in the past, we consistently defended the naira, dipping into our foreign reserves to try and shore up supply of the dollar so that we can manage that volatility to a large extent. And when you do that, it is expensive business defending your currency in the way that we did. Because look, if in the parallel market, it is naira exchanges to the dollar at 760 naira to a dollar, and you had the official market where the naira exchanged to the dollar at 430, 460. It means anybody who understands a little bit of economics will know that that is not real. That exchange rate is not real. And that we were simply throwing money at the problem. So Bola Tinubu came and felt, look, this is why we are broke. This is why we cannot pay our bills. This is why states are not getting enough money from the distributable revenue from FAC. And a lot of them can't pay salaries. A lot of them are owing worker salaries and all that. He decided that, look, he needed to do something about it because we were approaching a fiscal cliff. And we were simply marking time. If we had continued along that line, spending the bulk of our earnings from oil to service debt and to pay for subsidy, we would have been in trouble. By now, we would have been in very serious trouble because we are approaching the dead end and something had to give. Just as he said, it's a very painful choice that the president has made. And according to him, yes, subsidy is an objectionable scam, but continuing with it will have brought Nigeria down. He's not sure when we'll come out of these pains that we are going through. But as far as Soludo is concerned, the president did the right thing by removing subsidy and floating the naira that he has done. So that's why he said that he described the economy that the president inherited as a dead horse standing.
That's right.
The Nigerian economy was approaching an inevitable death before the new government came in and took some very drastic steps. Those steps are painful, but I believe that Nigeria's recovery will happen. Things will get better in the next few months. Some have predicted that before the end of the first quarter of next year, that the economy will begin to experience a rebound. That is what we pray to see.
That's right. So, former president of the Nigeria Bar Association and immediate past chairman of the Body of Benchers, Wole Olanipekun, called on President Bola Tinubu to constitute a panel to probe all past administrations in the country, and that includes Obasanjo's, Jonathan's, and Buhari's governments. Do you agree with him?
I think that there's a need to probe the past administrations. There are many things that were done that were not done right. They put us in the mess that we have found ourselves today. You can abuse Tinubu as much as you want, but it did not create the problems that we are going through today. He merely tried to solve the problem. So those who created the problems that we find ourselves in, those who are simply taking money out of the system, they need to be made to pay for their crimes. They need to be made to surrender monies that they have stolen. I know that progress is being made on that. Some of these people eventually be made to pay for their sins. It's not enough to just behave like we are not aware that some people took so much money out of the system. They need to be made to pay for their sins. And we didn't just find ourselves here. We found ourselves where we are today because of the inactions and bad choices that some of our leaders made, and because of the greed of a good number of those who have been privileged to rule our country, either at state level, at federal level, or even local government level. But crime is a crime. And when we investigate these administrations, we'll be able to know who committed what crime, and we'll be in position to recover from them what has been stolen. I'm so interested in having them return what they've stolen. Look at the former Accountant General of the Federation. How can we have a situation in which one man steals about 110 billion, and when they took him to court, he returned about 44 billion? How can a man be in position to steal 44 billion naira? It shows how terrible our system is, that somebody can steal as much as 44 billion from Nigeria in these difficult times. And I know that there are many others like that who probably even got away with stealing more than that. So we will never get to them unless we put an investigation in place to find out what this person stole, what that person stole, and put people on trial, recover what is stolen from them. We need to do that. We need to do that. Look at what Olanipekun son said. What has happened to the previous budgets and the trillions of naira allocated to road rehabilitation, healthcare delivery, security, infrastructure rehabilitation, institutional rehabilitation, among others? The government must also interrogate the very profound question as to why the national currency, the naira, has fallen almost from grace to grass, with the naira exchanging to $1 at 900 naira. The government must audit all past expenditures, whether real or otherwise. I agree absolutely with what this eminent lawyer has said. If we can find the money that some people have stolen and kept abroad, or even here in Nigeria, we'll be able to put the money recovered from them to good use. We'll be able to do that. We just need to do that. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. Surrender what you have stolen before we get to you. That's what government should say to these people. Tell them, surrender what you have stolen. Because if we have to discover what you have stolen by ourselves, you are not going to find it palatable. So Government has to let past administrations realize that they are not going to be left alone to simply enjoy what they have stolen. The government has to draw a line in the sand and say, from this point to this point, all that belongs to Nigeria that got stolen, we are on a mission to recover what was stolen. We need to do that to set the right example. And I will be happy to see the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration do that. Because many
Yeah,
people believe that it is not ready to fight corruption.
yeah.
It has many people around it that is corrupt and all that. But Bola Tinubu owes us that obligation
Right, Bikil.
to recover what belongs to Nigeria that had been stolen and get us to put what we have recovered to good use.
That's right. But Joshua Bidemi says, I don't believe any president in this country can probe any of Nigeria's past presidents. If President Tinubu can do it, wow, it would be great, but I doubt it will. Olatilewa Kamal says, Buhari and Osinbajo need to say something. They need to tell us about they need to tell us these atrocities were never committed. Nelson Adufe says, if President Tinubu can be consistent and persistent with the level at which he is fighting crime and daring to restore the economy, I believe it will set a pace for presidential system in Nigeria. And last but not, Lawrence Hogan says, we should focus on building the economy and repair as Tinubu is doing now, than trying to go into what has already spoiled in the past. And last but not least, Oluchukwu Kleto says, good evening, the maestro himself. I think we should hit the ground running and stop apportioning blames. You are doing a good job. Kletos Oluchukwu Sunday from Ogun State. Okay, so Bike, your final thoughts on this particular one. It's just about 4 months into the administration. No, just about, let's say, 3 months, going into 4 months into this administration. How much would you say the president or this administration has done in reviving the economy, very briefly?
No, the steps that have been taken are good steps, but it won't deliver the goods immediately. We have to be patient. Now, the governments at all levels will find much more money to work because, as you can see, we are able to save. We're able to save money that otherwise we could have spent on defending the naira. We are able to save money from subsidy removal. So states have more money now than they had in previous years, previous months. That way, they should be able to focus on infrastructure renewal, and infrastructure renewal will create jobs for people. People can turn our country, our states to one huge construction site. Jobs will be created. When America ran into recession in 2008 or thereabout, they decided to focus on infrastructure development. And that way, they call this spending ourselves out of recession. So you have to focus on creating those jobs at that level. And then if I believe that what the government also plans to do by way of agriculture will help us to get there. But these are steps that will take a while before people begin to see benefit. For example, very soon, more and more Nigerians will have access to compressed natural gas fired engines. They'll be able to drive around with cheaper fuel instead of this expensive petrol. So, and of course, government also plans to bring in electric vehicles and other, and even encourage companies within Nigeria to build electric vehicles. So, I still believe that in the final analysis, things will get better. But before things get better, Nigerians will go through a lot of pain. So what I want to see is the government moving quickly to try to ease the pains that people are going through at
That's
this
right.
time. They shouldn't allow labor to go on strike
That's right.
because there's no need for it at this time. And the government should just move rapidly, try to ease the pain of our people, increase the minimum wage as they have promised. And I'm confident that by the last quarter of the year, people will start seeing some changes and the economy will begin to bounce back again.
Right, BK.
It's difficult to say um, at this time that, oh, the president has turned around the economy. That would be utter falsehood.
That's
But
right.
we know that the steps that he has taken are inevitably going to lead to economic progress.
That's right. So, Biko, before we go, I would like to bring this to. I want your opinion on this. Arsenal and your club, Manchester United, will tomorrow clash in the Super Sunday match. What's your crystal ball telling you?
I've not looked at my crystal ball. Um, we've not been playing very well against Arsenal at the Emirates in recent times. In the past, we used to go there and disgrace them. But these days, we've not been doing very well there. So I won't even be surprised if Manchester United gets beaten by Arsenal at the Emirates. The defense has to be better if we are to contain them. The best I think we can get is a draw. But if they beat Arsenal, I will accept it. But in my view, the best, no, is difficult. Both teams are not doing well this season, so anything can happen. Anything can happen. After all, Arsenal couldn't beat ordinary Fulham the other day. So it's that same Fulham now that Man City has beaten today 5-1. It's that same Fulham that Tottenham beat. So I don't think Arsenal is has reached the standard of last season. So this may be the best time to beat them. After all, we beat them during the preseason.
Yeah.
Maybe we can beat them again. That's my prayer. That's my wish. But
Okay.
Man United, it's difficult to. Some years back, I could predict about Manchester United. But these days,
All right.
it's extremely risky to place your bet on Manchester United,
All right. Then you're getting
even
reactions
if they are
here.
playing, even if they are playing against a non-European failure like Arsenal. It's still difficult to predict what will happen. Both of
That,
them have not won the league in ages, so
interesting.
they're
That's
in the same
so.
category.
You're getting reactions here. Tractor Friday says the match that match is a draw. Um, Bukola Ayobami says, Babajide, I'm an Arsenal fan and do not let your comments break our friendship. The truth is, we are better than Man U. Hey. Folashade Olanroye says, Arsenal will beat Man United 1-0. Bamikole Obiwale says, let them increase. Okay, well, she's actually saying something. We moved to sports. Well, so those are the reactions that you got. Even Bukola Yobami is saying that, hey, you struggled in your last match. I will be there tomorrow at Emirates.
I may not even watch the match because when I'm not sure of the outcome of a game, I just refuse to watch. If people tell me the result, I will accept it. The team has not impressed me lately to want to stick my neck out. But I know that Arsenal too, they are not in form. So we are cut from the same cloth, you know. So we are both. It could end in a draw. the look of things could end in a draw.
All right,
But
then.
both teams are not excellent.
We'll see what happens at the end of the day. Tomorrow is just a few hours, from this time.
Let my friends who are Arsenal fans accept us with open arms and let us have a draw. That's all we are friends. What are friends for?
What are friends for? No problem. Francis is on your side. He's saying that the match will end, in a draw. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, by God's grace. By God's grace.
That's our show for today's edition of Issues with JIDE. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses, as always, all the way from Abuja.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you, Ibrahim. We'll do this again next week.
And thanks to you, to our audience, for joining us on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG, at Ibrahim TVC News. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shitas. See you again next edition. Bye for now.